Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 110. We've got Dodge Matthews on. You know what time it is. NFL mock draft, our second annual mock draft. First round only, all 32 picks. Me and Dodge will be going back and forth. Dodge watches a lot of college football. I just love scouting, so it's a great combination. Dodge, how are we doing today? It's been a while.
Yeah, I know it has been a while. I'm doing well, Hunter. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being on more podcasts as my master's program comes to an end. So,
Yes, sir. He's going to be graduated and a full-time member of the Logical Nonsense podcast, right? No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, let's hop right into it because we got a lot to cover, all 32 picks between the two of us. So, Dodge, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
let's have you start.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Starting now. The Titans are on the clock, and I think I am going to agree with just about every other NFL analyst. They need a quarterback. Will Levis is not the answer, unfortunately, for them. And even though their GM said they're going to get the generational talent, I don't know if I necessarily agree that is Cam Ward, but I do like Cam Ward, and I do think they're going to pick him. I like Cam Ward's pocket mobility, his improvising skills. He's athletic. My biggest thing and probably my biggest strength with him is just how composed he is. We saw in that Cal game when they were down big, he was composed. He didn't seem to be threatened by the moment whatsoever. And he's been with multiple schools and had success at all three different schools and different levels of play. So I think that says a lot about him and his character. He makes reads quick. He has a good arm, good accuracy, and he has great ball location, which I think is something, you can have good accuracy, but putting the ball in the right place, I think, is a huge thing too. Some weaknesses with him. You look at his turnovers last year, and I think Cam Ward's turnovers were majority of them were caused just of him forcing things. When there's no play to be made, he still wants to make that play, kind of be a hero. We saw that a little bit with Caleb Williams. It's not that extreme, but at times, I mean, there's a play when I was watching film where he's rolling out to the right, no one's open, and he just throws it into triple coverage and throws a turnover. So that obviously can't happen at the next level. Hopefully, he gets developed and matures as a passer, so he's not making those plays in the NFL because plays like that are extremely costly at the NFL level, as you know.
Yeah, I'm also good with sticking with Cam Ward here. In my opinion, he's probably your best bet at quarterback for the draft.
Yep.
And Titans, like you said, they need a quarterback. One thing about Cam Ward, we've got to watch him at WSU before he transferred, and he's naturally talented. He has a good arm. He's gifted at escaping. He keeps plays alive, like almost Russell Wilson style, early Russell Wilson, but he's good with his feet. He could use his feet more actually than he currently does, but he does hold on to the ball too long, and that's pretty much been the knock on him as well.
Yep.
In my opinion, to me, that also is part of what makes him so good. Sort of similar to Russell Wilson. So I think you got to take some punches with some of the talent that he brings. Another problem is that he can be careless with his feet. And I think goes back to the fact that he knows he's good. He thinks he's so good at times that he doesn't need to do everything that a quarterback should be doing.
Yep.
So sometimes he's just careless. He's going to be a great pick, I think, at first. Is it a little high? Yeah, but honestly, I wonder how you feel about this draft class overall compared
Draft
to the
class as a
Yeah.
whole, not just a QB.
Mm-hmm.
I think comparative to last year's draft class, I think offensively the talent isn't as high, but I do think defensively there are some good gems on the defense side of the ball, especially when it comes to edge rushers. There were a few guys last year that I thought made an impact. We look at the Rams and what Jared Verse and Braden Fisk did, and they had a great impact right away. Leatu Latu had a quietly good year, but a guy like Dallas Turner, like what did he do last year? So I think there's opportunity, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the ball with edge rushers, especially that I think there's upside to. But there's a lot of positions that looking at last year, I love the corner class last year, and it showed this year that there were some really good corners this year. I loved. I mean, I thought the quarterback class was good last year. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it turned out to be last year, which kind of surprised me. But it's kind of trade and take, because I love this year's running back class. I think it's one of the deepest running back class we've seen in a long time. I think you could get a 3rd or 4th round draft pick that can have a good impact on your team. So it depends on the position for me. Receivers, not in love. QBs, not in love. Offensive line, it might be a downgrade, but I don't know if it's that much of a downgrade. I think it's somewhat similar to last year. Some may argue it's the other way around. Maybe it's an upgrade. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the draft class as a whole?
I think overall from last year, because we did this for the last season,
Yep.
this is a down year.
Yeah.
Like last year, we were raving about how much talent this is going to bring, how many NFL guys are going to be staying in the NFL from that draft class for years.
Yep.
Right. This is not a draft class that I think is going to have a lot of long-term staying power in the NFL. Not to diminish anybody, because there are good players in this draft.
Yep.
I'll say that. But there's not a single player out there, in my opinion, where there's not some
questions.
downside.
Yeah.
Or questions.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
This draft, you can look up and down, and there's some plays that you're like, this is not a top 5, top 10 guy, even though that in this case they are. Right. Yep. Cam Ward being a number 1 pick in most drafts, he's not a number 1 pick.
Yeah, he's probably late 1st round.
Right.
Mid.
Yep. And he's super talented. Yep. So I will say that. But you are taking a little bit of a jump in the hope that talent converts, and that his escaping mobility continues even in the NFL.
Yep.
And he's not as careless.
Yep. I agree. No, and the other thing I'll say, just to finish off draft class thoughts as a whole, I think Mel Kiper Jr. put this perfectly. Not to just Mel Kiper, however you feel about him, whatever. But he said this is the first draft class in a while where it feels like there's not that blue chip guy that is a for sure. There's no questions about him. They know for sure he's going to succeed at the next level. There feels like every prospect, like we were just talking about, has some sort of questions around him. And he said, yes, it makes it more fun for a draft, but it's not making it any easier on the teams when they're deciding who they're picking. So,
no, because in some ways, like your 1st round draft pick may not be as good as your 4th round draft pick.
Yep, and you're paying them more too. So, all right, well, let's go to our next pick for me. Cleveland's on the board. Very interesting team. I think there's a lot of questions on what Cleveland does here. For a while it was Sheduer's a lock at number 2. We'll talk about Sheduer in a second, but I don't know. They're the Cleveland Browns. I'm not saying this is a bad pick. I just don't think they're going to go that direction. And I'm going with probably my number 1 prospect on this list. I'm going with Abdul Carter to the Cleveland Browns at my number 2 pick. I like Abdul Carter's upside. He's very, very explosive. He's violent. He's got a lot of tools in his bag. I think that's the best way to describe him. And what I love about him too is he has that outside linebacker experience in the past too. Mm-hmm. So not only is he a really good pass rusher, but he can help you out in the run too. And he can sniff out screens. He's very disruptive. All year long, he was disruptive, and I think he will translate well. And I do like this for Cleveland in a sense because, there's some uncertainty with Myles Garrett if he's actually going to stay. I know he was requesting a trade for a while. I don't know if that's gone away. But, this is a good replacement for him if he does leave. If he doesn't leave, I think that's great news for Abdul Carter. Learn from one of the best in the game in Myles Garrett. I think that's a great way to train behind him. Do I think it's the best move for Cleveland? I don't know about that. But like we were just saying, there's a lot of questions with all these prospects. So what is the best move for Cleveland? I don't know if anyone knows that answer right now. So I think they're gonna go with Abdul Carter. Yes, there's injury concerns with him, a lot of durability, right? He got injured in the playoffs. There's this thing coming up during the combine that they were talking about. So there are questions there. I don't think it'll drop his draft stock anymore. I still think he's a top prospect. And, maybe down the line, they'll be regretting this like Browns do. But yeah, I'm still going with Abdul Carter.
Yeah, Abdul Carter is probably the closest thing to a guarantee that you have in this draft.
Yep.
That being said, it's just the Browns. And I'm not sure that they're going to pick Carter. I could see them taking a gamble that they shouldn't. We're going to go with Sheduer Sanders on my.
Sheduer Sanders. He's gonna do it. No questions asked. Sheduer Sanders to the Browns.
We're going 2 quarterbacks in a row. And 2 quarterbacks in a row that should not be top 2 picks. For me, Sheduer Sanders, he's good enough. He's got decent enough arm strength. He's got decent enough accuracy to be in the NFL. He's athletic, but in my opinion, he was really helped out by his wide receiving core while in college.
I agree.
And so I think that makes him, in his stats, also look better than he actually was. He did get better in his second season, I think, with his feet. If you just watch his mechanics and with his feet, he seemed to realize that he's got a shot at being a first-round NFL draft pick. I need to get better at this and not be so lazy. This is something that I think he actually does better at than Cam Ward, especially in this last season. But he's far from a guarantee at being a starter in the NFL. I think, he was flattered at Colorado. He's got the Sanders name, which I think is going to help him in the draft, not hurt. And I think the Browns are in desperate need of a quarterback. They have Deshaun Watson, but they've pretty much written Deshaun Watson off. And to be fair, Deshaun Watson has sucked. Kenny Pickett's there, but Kenny Pickett is also garbage. So I think for them, they think they have to go quarterback. Either that or they trade out, which is that is a possibility. I could see them trading out. And that would probably be their best bet. But I think the Sanders name is going to get him the second pick in the draft, and the Browns are going to want that. So.
No, it's not a bold take. I think, like I said, like early on, everyone had Sheduer going too. As of late, it's been more so Abdul Carter, and maybe I'm making the safe decision or, following the trends and saying Abdul Carter is going to the Browns. But I don't know. It feels like to me, like whatever the Browns should do, they don't. And so that's kind of where I'm going with Abdul Carter. I feel like they're in misery and they're just going to put themselves even in more misery. And I'm not saying it's because of Abdul Carter that they're putting themselves in misery. It's just because they're not getting their actual needs done.
Right. I think what would be best for them is to trade out and get.
I agree.
Get Marcus Mariota or someone.
Yep. And I'll talk about Sheduer Sanders a little bit later too, but I completely agree with you. I think he is a guy who really can succeed in a program that is built around him. And what I mean by that is, I don't like saying this because I do like Brock Purdy, but similar to Brock Purdy, where he had a lot of weapons around him, he reminds me of Brock Purdy in ways, in the sense that he's a He's a good passer. He gets the ball out quick. Kind of. Yeah, it depends on the game. He gets the ball to his receivers and he can let them work. And I think for Sheduer Sanders to succeed, he needs that. I don't think him going to the Cleveland Browns, he's not going to turn the Cleveland Browns around, in my opinion. He needs more help than that. And that's what I'll say about him for now. I'll talk about him a little bit later. But
yeah.
Okay. Going to the third pick, New York Giants. Joe Shane, a lot of people don't like him, and for a variety of reasons as a GM, but I think he wants to hit a home run. Very interesting because they just got Russell Wilson. They have Jameis Winston as well, and Tommy DeVito. So they have a full quarterback room. Sheduer Sanders is on the board in this draft. Do they get their future with Sheduer? There's been a lot of rumors about them liking Sheduer Sanders, or do they hit that home run, if you will, make some drama and go get Travis Hunter? I think as a GM, Joe Shane is going to go out and get Travis Hunter. The reason being is it makes some noise. People, like I said, he wants to make a home run. Do I think Travis Hunter is the number one wide receiver? No. Do I think he's a number one cornerback? No. However, it's an interesting storyline as a prospect. Do I think he'll be playing both ways all the time? I don't think so. I know a lot of people have him highly rated because of his versatility and what he's able to do. There's a lot of debates. Is he a better corner? Is he a better receiver? I think his first 2 years, he was a better corner. I think last year he was a better receiver. So take that as you will. I could see them using him more on the defensive side and, maybe doing some sort of trick plays for him on the offensive side. That's kind of how I see him being, kind of like a Charles Woodson, if you will. But I think they're going to try to go and get the home run pick here.
Travis Hunter, I think you hit the head on the nail. Is he the number one receiver? No. In a not really great receiver draft, to be honest. Is he the number one corner? No. And yeah, I think he was a better receiver than he was corner this last season.
Yep.
So, and I'll talk about him more, but I think Travis Hunter is going to fall a little bit.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't see him playing both ways, and I think he's going to fall a little bit in the draft.
Okay. All right. Well, let's hear about it. Pick number 3 for you with the Giants. And remember, you can do trades if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, so the Giants have, like we talked about, a full quarterback room. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Jameis Winston, but
I know you're not.
I think Russell Wilson is fine and still can get it done, and he proved that last season. I think that Tommy DeVito, I would throw Tommy DeVito out there over Jameis as well and see what he can do.
Yep.
But I think, if anything, you do have Jameis as well. So, you've got 3 guys who can at least play.
Yep.
So I don't think they need to go out and get another quarterback. And to be honest, there's no way there's 3 quarterbacks going in a row in this draft. So this is where we go edge, and we go get Abdul Carter, the best player in the draft.
So you agree with me, best player in the draft?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's the closest thing to a for sure thing in this draft.
Yep.
He's quick and fast. Those are the 2 biggest things I noted down when watching him. The only knock that I have really on him is that he's slightly undersized.
Yeah.
But he played in the Big Ten, which I think is most analogous to the NFL in college football. And it wasn't really a problem there in the Big Ten.
Mm-mm.
So
not even close.
Maybe it won't be a problem in the NFL. Yeah. One thing that did, he was injured at the end of the season in college, and he didn't participate in the combine, and then I think he just injured his foot as well. Although apparently he's been cleared for that, and he'll be fine. But the only knock that I could see is that maybe slightly undersized, but it didn't really matter, and maybe too many injuries. But to be honest, I think this would be a great fit for the Giants. You know, you were also talking about wanting a home run. I think this is the closest thing you have to a home run. This might be a triple. You know, so and like I talked about earlier, and I'll talk about Travis Hunter more when I do get to drafting him. Like I just see him. I see him potentially falling more than rising, even though he is the Heisman Trophy winner. And I mean, he's very capable, very athletic. But
all right, back to my big board. We've got the New England Patriots next, and this is an interesting situation for them because Travis Hunter is no longer on the board. I know that they like Travis Hunter a lot, so maybe they're bummed. I don't know, but I think they play it safe here. They go get more weapons on the offensive line for Drake May. Drake May was an actual big surprise to me. He turned out a lot better than I actually thought he would. So shout out to Drake May. I think the question here is, which offensive lineman do you go get? Do you go get Will Campbell? Do you go get Kelvin Banks? Do you go get Armand Membo? I mean, it's a tough decision, and I think it ultimately comes down on who you trust the most as a person and what you're seeing on film. I think they're going to go with Will Campbell here. I know that there's a lot of concerns in terms of the wingspan of Will Campbell, but Will Campbell's technique is really good, and he has the ability, as we see in the SEC, to block very good edge rushers, playing Georgia, playing Alabama, guys who have year after year really good edge rushers. And Will Campbell was able to go head-to-head with them, bring that power. He's a great pass protector, which I think New England will need. And I don't know. Maybe it's gut feeling, but I think Will Campbell will stick out to New England more so than Membo or Kelvin Banks.
I think it's a little funny that we're talking about the wingspan thing.
I do too. I was actually going to say more about that, but go ahead.
Because here's the thing. If you look at all of the top offensive tackles for this season, you know what the knock on them is? They all have short arms.
Yeah.
Every single one of like the top 5 tackles. 2 short arms, 2 short arms, 2 short arms. Well, I mean, they're the top offensive tackles in the draft. So like what do you want? Like I think at times the NFL takes a look at too much of it's got to be this. Yep. And if it's not this, if it's not the right measurement, if the hand isn't big enough, if the arms aren't long enough, if his 40 time isn't that right, then you know what? He's just not going to make it in the NFL. Yeah. Even though he was a good productive player at college, he just won't. And to be honest, I think this narrative has been proven false enough.
So I agree. 100%.
That if they were a good college player and they were productive, guess what? They're probably going to be productive.
Well, especially in a conference like the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah, right. It's not like he was playing in the MAC.
Exactly.
No offense to the MAC, but I completely agree with that. Yep. Like he's playing at the top college level, LSU. I mean, it doesn't get higher than that. So, and to be honest, I think he had a really great season.
Yep. Okay, let's go to yours. Who do you have New England picking?
So I said Travis Hunter was going to fall, so he's not going to get picked by the Patriots.
Okay.
And this is where new coach is going to come in, and we're going to see Mason Graham, Michigan. He's going to be picked.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a really good fit for the Patriots. They're going to want to revitalize their defense, I think. Yep. And they got Stephon Diggs at receiver now. Honestly, I think their receiving core with Hunter Henry and Demario Douglas and Stephon Diggs, they have Ramondre Stevenson, Drake May. Like I think their offense looks pretty solid to me this year. Their defense is what needs help, in my opinion. Mason Graham at Michigan, just to talk about him.
He's a beast.
He's strong.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Just complete. One thing that was weird though is that he only had 24 reps at bench, which I was a little surprised he only had 24.
Game strength. It's different.
Because his tape shows something completely different, where he just tosses around centers and guards. He needs to
He's a
be
bully.
double. He's explosive for a big defensive tackle, and if teams were not double teaming him, he was getting to the quarterback in college.
Yep.
So, I really think that he'll be a difference maker for that interior defensive line for the Patriots.
I like it. I like it so much that I have the Jags picking them. So yeah, right after New England goes with offensive line, I think Jacksonville is like, okay, fine, I'll go pick Mason Graham. I think it's, Jacksonville, they need some defensive help. They need a lot of help, in my opinion, in general. But I think Mason Graham, it's really funny. I don't know if you've seen this, but some sort of old offensive lineman from the Jaguars was saying, don't pick Mason Graham. He's like, give him all this flack, which I think is hilarious. But anyways, I love Mason Graham as a prospect. I think, like you said, pretty much word for word what you said, his physicality is extremely I don't know if breathtaking is the right word for it, but it's like one of those where you're watching film and you're like, Jesus Christ. Like, yes, it's college kids, but like Big Ten football. Like, let's remember this. Like these aren't slacks. Like, this kid has some serious natural talent that you can't teach, and being able to develop him even beyond that, I think it's going to go away. And we've seen the defensive line, especially D tackles, it's become more and more important. Chris Jones, speaking of New England, right? They just signed a big defensive tackle, which would go hand in hand perfectly with your pick, right? So it's important. People are getting big contracts at the defensive line, not just edge rushers, but also D tackles. And I think it's starting to come back in a style a little bit, if you will. So, yes, I love Mason Graham. I think he would be a major help to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. All right, who you got for Jacksonville?
I'll go for Armand Membo, Missouri. Offensive tackle. He showed great athleticism at the combine. I think that might jump him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was debating going Travis Hunter here because, he is slipping now past 5, which I don't think most people would think.
Nope.
But, yeah, I was debating it, but I do think Membo is a good pick here for them. They need to protect Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
And that's been a thing for years now.
Yep.
He has good size. He played in the SEC. One thing that you really noticed, or that I really noticed on tape, was that he has good hands. I mean, he shoots them inside. They're strong, and he stays on blocks.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Armand Membo.
I like it, especially for the Jaguars. I agree. They need help. All right. So for the Raiders, this might be way too high. I'll just put it straight flat out there. But I'm going Raiders picking Ashton Jeanty. Here's why. Raiders running game last season was awful. There was some talks about Zamir White being good and Amir Abdullah, and they didn't really have like that.
Don't hate on my Amir.
I'm not hating on him, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, their committee just wasn't committeeing. Like, they weren't a running team or a running threat. Two teams. And I think they need to go and get a guy who can provide a threat. And I think Ashton Jeanty, I mean, you know how much I love Jeanty. So
yeah, I do.
I mean, I think it would be a game changer for Las Vegas to get a guy like Jeanty, because Jeanty is one of those guys who can make plays out of nothing. He's explosive even when the play is broken. In a game where he was most criticized against Penn State, where they're stacking the box, 8, 9 guys, maybe not 9, but 8 guys, right?
Yeah. Sometimes 9, I think. So
he impressed me that game. And here's why. Yes, he had the fumbles, whatever. He impressed me that game. And here's why. There were so many times he should have gone a tackle for loss or should have been a 5-yard loss, and he still got back to the line. And I know what we're thinking, like, oh, good job. A 1-yard gain or back to the line, right? But when you have that many fucking guys in your fucking grill and your offensive line can't stop anyone, and you're showing that fight just to get back to the line of scrimmage, that's some competitiveness that you can't teach about Ashton Jeanty. Not to mention Jeanty's ball carrier vision, which is elite, some of the best we've seen in a while. I love how hard he is to tackle. I have 151 missed tackles last season and 1,400 yards after contact. That is absolutely insane. Not to mention, I mean, that's not even including all the yards he put up. He's a workhorse. I mean, Boise State fed this man the ball game after fucking game. So he's tough mentally. He's tough physically. He's got great ball carrier vision. And the knocks on this guy, oh, he doesn't have top end speed. I get it. But do you always need like an 80-yard breakaway running back? I don't know. Like, I think you just need a solid running back who can tough it out for a game. And right now with Las Vegas's running back room, they need a guy like this. And I think he's a good fit for Las Vegas. And I love him as a prospect. I know there's a lot of concerns. Oh, is he going to translate to the NFL? I think he'll translate just fine. So yeah, Jeanty to the Raiders.
I'll talk about Jeanty when I get to him. I love Jeanty too. I mean, it's hard not to love Jeanty. Jeanty's tape is so stellar. He's just difficult to bring down. And, you know, yeah, I could see the Raiders being interested, even with Pete Carroll. With JT.
He likes those West Coast boys too.
He does. I don't think that's where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
For me. But yeah, I think JT, he's a workhorse.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll talk about him more when I get to him. But
one thing real quick, and this, I don't know if this really swayed me that much, but the owner's son said to his dad, if we don't pick Jeanty, I will no longer root for the Raiders.
So, the People's Heisman. The People's Heisman.
People's Heisman. All right, who you got for the Raiders?
This, to me, is where I go Travis Hunter. And you may say, oh my gosh, he didn't fall. He didn't fall at all. Well, you know, for pick 6 on Travis Hunter, that's falling.
Yep.
I think Pete Carroll, he loves people who compete. And that's why I think Ashton Jeanty is a good pick for them too. But if Travis Hunter slips this far, I think Pete Carroll will take that. Because to be honest, Travis Hunter's everything that I've seen from him, he's a good kid. He really, you know, tries extremely hard. He's tough, right? So I think Pete Carroll will like that, and that's why I'm gonna go with Pete Carroll or with the Raiders taking Tyler. Oh, goodness gracious.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter. My brain is all over the place. Travis Hunter there. Do I know if he's going to play cornerback or receiver? I think he might play a little bit of both if he ends up on the Raiders.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
because they need help at receiver. They need help at corner.
Yeah,
I can see him playing both. I don't think that he'd play the entire game.
Yeah,
at both, but he'd play good chunks.
Yep.
At cornerback, I think his best aspects is that he reads the quarterback really well. He reads receivers' routes extremely well.
Yep.
And I think that actually probably is helped by the fact that he plays receiver.
Yep.
He's fast, and that's obvious, even if he didn't run the 40 or didn't go to the combine.
Yep.
But one knock that I had on him in watching his tape at playing corner this last season is that even though he was in press a lot, he gets beat in press, off press all the time.
Yeah.
Like
he does.
If they were go routes every single time and well thrown over the shoulder, they're scoring touchdowns after touchdowns on Travis Hunter. But so many were underthrown. You know, to be honest, I don't think the Big 12 is that great.
Sure.
Yeah, and so he just gets beat off the line too much. He never gets hands-on until like 10, 15 yards downfield.
Yeah.
And that's a pass interference. I'm sorry, but like there was a lot of pass interferences of Travis Hunter that weren't called last season because he's not getting hands-on in a press. He's up in the guy's face. He doesn't get hand out there 10, 15 yards downfield.
He's not physical at the line enough.
No,
I
not
think
at
he's
all.
fine. I think he's fine as his own coverage guy, but I agree.
Yeah.
I think man coverage, he definitely has some work. I agree.
And at the receiver, we talked about it. He's tough. He takes hard hits.
Yeah, he
Uh,
is.
he has great hands, and he wins
Yep.
50-50 balls.
Yep.
So I can almost see him playing receiver more, just
Yeah.
because to me there's not really a knock for him at receiver.
Yeah.
And there seems to be some knocks, and especially like we talked about, man press coverage at corner.
All right, going to the Jets on my board. Kind of an interesting team just because I don't really know where they should go with this. Justin Fields, like, what's this team's identity this next year? Like, I genuinely don't know. I'm not sure where they're going or trying to go with this team.
Do you think they know where they're going?
What's up? No, I
I
don't.
don't think they know where they're going.
No, and that's why I think they play it safe here. I think they see a guy like Membo still on the board. Yeah, let's go protect Justin Fields. I think that's why they go take him. Like you said, great technique by this guy. I think he's solid. Another SEC guy. Huge uprise through the combine, and reasonably so. I mean, he showed out, and this is why I think players should play in the combine, which is a whole nother debate conversation. But this is what you can do. You can really impress a
You can
team,
move up.
and you know, in addition to his film, he also showed out at the combine, and I think that really helped him. And is why I think the Jets go out and go take him.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick for the Jets if Membo's still on the board. I don't think they know what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
They had Aaron Rodgers last season. I think they were thinking that would go longer than it did.
Yeah.
And now they have Fields and Tyrod Taylor. Let's not forget Tyrod Taylor, when he plays, is actually pretty
good.
decent.
He is good. He just can't get punctured in the lung by his medical staff.
Or literally any other type of injury.
Best man ever.
Yeah, for real. I think this is a good pick for them, though. I could see that.
All right, who do you got for the Jets?
Here is where I'm going to go with. This is getting difficult. I guess I'll go Will Campbell.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense for them. Like we talked about, I think going offensive tackle, the only difference is that we had Will Campbell and Membo switched.
Yeah.
But Will Campbell plays really well. He's got perfect placement of hands. His feet are moving. They move well. The arm thing drives me crazy because literally all the top tackles have that.
He's 6'6". Why the fuck do you care?
Yeah, he's big. Like,
he's huge.
If anything, he's gonna want to bring those edge defenders to him and then turn them down. But no, he'll be fine. I think this is the best option for the Jets. I think that honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these tackles move to guard too. They're big enough to do it. Yeah. So, to be honest, I think it's just a good move for the Jets to be able to protect Justin Fields. The Jets need more help than this, in my opinion. But yeah, and I would go D-line, but there's just no one there except for edge rushers this high up.
Yep.
Could see them trading down, but I think this is a good spot.
Okay. Back to my tab. I have my first trade of the draft. I have the Carolina Panthers trading their pick for Carolina with Dallas. Yes, Carolina with Dallas. I think Dallas gets scared that Carolina is going to go and pick Teterow and McMillan. I think Dallas trades up. Do I think they should? No. I like Teterow and McMillan, but I don't think he's worth where they pick him. But Dallas makes bad moves, so I think they trade up. They go get Teterow and McMillan. Great size. I think he's an interesting prospect. I would like to see him get better with his releases. He doesn't have a ton of different releases that as a receiver, and I think that is important when you get into the league. With his size, he can kind of get away with it, and he continues on his routes. But he is an interesting prospect because we've seen him both play like an X as well as like a slot receiver, and he has better open field ability than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I'm not saying he's like, Xavier Worthy in the open field, like, super fast speed or like big agility moves or anything like that. But he can definitely, if you get the ball to him in space, he can make some moves and make some guys miss. Obviously goal line is huge. And I think him going to Dallas where he's not the number one receiver is a great thing for him. I think he would benefit from being a number 2 receiver, being a goal line threat, especially in his first year, and developing under a guy like CeeDee Lamb, learning from him. I'm going with that.
Yeah, I like McMillan. I think he is the best receiver in the draft. I'll talk about him more as well as I, get to pick him. He's a very, very large target.
Yep.
We had a similar knock. You said release. I said route running wasn't necessarily his
It's not crisp.
forte.
Yeah.
But but he I'll get to it later. But he's a solid receiver. I think at Dallas he could thrive, right? Because he's not that wide receiver 1.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't know if the Panthers are good enough to be trading down unless they're getting someone really
I hear you.
talent.
Okay. Your Carolina Panthers. Who are they picking?
Yeah, for the Panthers, I'm going to go ahead and select. They just need help pretty much anywhere. I'm going to go with Jahdae Barron.
Oh, I like it.
Texas.
I like it.
To me, he is a football player.
Yep.
And that's really the biggest thing that I noticed about him. And I know that's going to sound weird, but hear me out. He has a really impressive natural ability to play the game of football. He can play anywhere. He can play slot. He can play nickel. He can play corner. He can play safety. In my opinion, he actually might move back to safety at some point. Because I don't actually think he's as useful as an outside corner. So he's really good at reading the play. He's really good at being able to see the quarterback. Like the biggest thing that I noticed about him was on screen plays, he reads those super quickly and attacks straight downfield.
Yeah.
Right. And he makes that tackle right at the line of scrimmage. He has the ability to set the edge from the slot too. And he just comes up and makes plays. And to me, that's what a safety does, not so much a corner. So I actually see him probably switching positions, at least from being an outside corner. I see him more being a nickelback, slot corner, maybe even a strong safety, even though he's somewhat undersized. Yeah. But he just plays football so well. He reads the game so well. And in my opinion, he's a better corner than Travis Hunter. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's able to help Panthers in a lot of areas too, which, like I said, the Panthers need help in everywhere. So
okay. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. Okay, New Orleans. So I think Kellen Moore, new head coach. I think he's going to want something fresh. And this is where we get probably what our biggest surprise that I've had in my draft first. I don't think they're going to go get Sheduer Sanders. I think he's going to drop even further. I think they go out and they go get Jackson Dart. And it's not biased. Just hear me out. This is what Kellen Moore likes. Think about the quarterbacks that Kellen Moore has worked with throughout his career. Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. There's more. But they're these types of prospects. Jackson Dart's mobility is underrated. He's actually my number 2 quarterback over Sheduer Sanders. And it's not so much because I don't like Sheduer Sanders. It's more so the potential of Jackson Dart. I don't think Dart is a polished prospect right now. But I think with somebody like Kellen Moore, he can get him there. And I can see Kellen Moore falling in love with a guy like this because he has natural talent at the arm ability. He has that mobility. It's funny because you watch Jackson Dart's tape and he's better outside of the pocket than he is inside the pocket. He feels more, in my opinion, he looks more comfortable when he's outside the pocket, making improvised plays, throwing balls deep downfield, which is interesting and something they can work on. But yeah, like I said, I like the mobility. I like his ability to throw it downfield. I think he needs to work on trusting his reads a little bit more. It feels like he's one of those guys that, okay, I see it, and then I throw it. Where he needs to be, I see it, I throw it. And that's something he needs to work on. Again, Kellen Moore, I think, can really help with that. I also think he needs to get better with pressure in terms of accuracy. He can still get the ball out. He can still, get the ball there, but ball placement when he's pressured, I think he could work on. I also think he can be inconsistent at times. Another thing he can work on. And then lastly, I think anticipating blitz, especially backside blitz, I think he could get better on. But all things I think are fixable with Jackson Dart. But I think they go for the big one.
Well, I know that you've been a Jackson Dart fan.
He's been rising, and it almost makes me scared because usually when white QBs rise, it doesn't end up well. So,
well, you're trying to make if you're trying to make a comparison to Zach Wilson, I will say he's better than Zach Wilson.
I agree. So. I'm not saying that, but it does make me slightly nervous. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, I have Jackson Dart going in the first round too, and I knew we were going to talk about him. I really wanted to talk about him because we've been talking about him for years now, to be honest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves comparatively to when you look at Sheduer or even Cam Ward. So this isn't the realm out of the realm of possibility. I think it's a little high. And,
it's definitely high. I agree.
It's a swing. The Saints still have quarterbacks that they drafted, and they have Derek Carr.
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of Derek Carr, but everyone else seems to be. So,
yeah. Who do you got the Saints picking then?
For the Saints, I'm gonna go with Kevin Banks.
Kelvin Banks.
And for Banks, he did really help. To be honest, Texas played a lot of good edge rushers this past season. And to be honest, he held up really well against them. He has good initial impact. That's probably the first thing that you can really see is that he's got a good punch. And he has a tendency to stick on guys too. He can be a violent offensive tackle. I think the Saints, it's difficult to know exactly where they need help. They seem okay to me in a lot of areas, but it just is okay. It's mediocre. To be honest, they need help everywhere, but they also don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about the Saints. I think Kevin Banks is a good pick here for them.
All right.
How do you feel?
Kelvin Banks, I mean, I agree. I think Kelvin Banks is he's an interesting prospect because especially towards the later part of the year, he struggled a little bit, not like anything concerning, but he was also hurt. So it's also hard to know how much of that was due to injury. But I agree. I think his initial contact's great. I mean, there was talks of him going before Membo and Will
Campbell.
Yes, Will Campbell. Thank you. For a while. So I think he's up there with those prospects. Again, I think it's really on what do you value with these guys? Do you want a pass protector? Do you want a guy who can do both? Do you want more of a running? Do you want a guy who has versatility and can maybe move to guard? That kind of thing. So I think it's a good pick for the Saints in terms of just getting help on the line. I mean, it's always, like I said, it's a safe option to go tackle, right? Everyone needs a tackle, it feels like. So, or most everyone needs a tackle unless you're the Eagles, right? So, all right, going to Chicago. Really interesting. They really improved their line. So it's do they go more line? Do they go defense? I think they're going to personally go defense. And there's some interesting prospects, Jalen Walker. Do they go corner route with Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson? Do they go, some of these other edge rushers like Shamar Stewart, Michael Williams? I think they're going to go with Jalen Walker. His versatility is really good. He can play in the pass. He can be an edge rusher. And I think the Bears are going to fall in love with that ability to be versatile. If you're versatile, you're pretty much athletic, and he is very athletic. And I love what he's able to do on the field. You talked about players who just know the game. He seems to me like a player who knows the game, and from multiple different situations. And that's what I love about Jalen Walker.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I you can't really go wrong from edge from Georgia. Although I don't necessarily think that he's the best pass rusher in the draft. So I don't see. I maybe don't even see him staying as an edge. I could see him moving to maybe a little bit more
linebacker.
Yeah.
Which I think is appealing to Chicago, right? Like they can test him in a variety of situations. Like,
right.
And
he played everywhere. So
yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's go to your Chicago pick.
All right. Ashton Jeanty's finally going to lead the board.
I knew it.
The Bears have been like desperate, I feel like, for a really solid, good young running back for a while. Yeah. And they have this DeAndre Swift, but to me, I think Swift, he's more of a versatile back, but I think this will be a good duo for them. I think they'll be able to use Ashton Jeanty and DeAndre Swift in a good multitude and variety of ways. I think they'll give each other breaks, which is absolutely crucial for Jeanty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because for me, Jeanty, he's very difficult to bring down. I was surprised at his listed weight. I thought it would be heavier.
Yeah.
Because of how big he looks. Yeah. He's got super strong legs. Again, he doesn't have that breakaway speed, and I'm not sure about his longevity because of the fact that he is a workhorse, pound the rock type guy. So you might get a great 6 years out of him, but that might be it.
Yeah. Well, Terrell Davis action.
I think that this might actually prolong him and save him if you have him as a combo with Swift.
I like it. I like the fit too. So, I mean, I already talked about Jeanty, so I'm not going to echo anymore, but I like the fit with Chicago. If he doesn't go to Raiders, I could definitely see him going to Chicago. So, all right, San Francisco, they lost a decent amount of their defense, and I think that's where they're going to go. I think they're going to go with Sheduer Sanders, another guy, edge rusher, explosive, SEC, created havoc year after year, and I think San Francisco is going to like that kind of stability almost in his experience. And you watch the tape, and another one of those guys that you're like, he definitely has potential, man. He definitely has potential. So yeah, I got Sheduer Sanders to San Francisco.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think it makes sense for San Francisco as well. So that's not who I have going to San Francisco, but I think it makes sense.
Yep. All right, who you got?
All right, going to San Francisco, I have man that just went off your board, Jalen Walker. He reads the quarterback's eyes extremely well, reads offensive plays well. Like you said, he knows the game of football. And like I said, I don't think he's going to be necessarily a pass rusher. But to be honest, they have Gross Matos and Bosa, so I don't think they really need the pass rush. I think, obviously they have Fred Warner too, but I do think that he'll be beside Fred Warner. So
replace Greenlaw.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Going to Carolina on my pick because I had them in a trade. Now what do they do, right? So wide receivers off the board. Do they go defense? I think they do, and this is where I think Barron goes. I agree. I like Barron the most. I think he feels like when you look at corners like Travis Hunter, like, is he gonna play corner? Maybe. If he does, then do you put him at wide receiver? I don't know. Then you look at Will Johnson. He has had a lot of injuries. I don't know if he's a sure thing. Like you said, this guy has so much versatility, and he can play from so many different sides of the field. And I think he's going to be a huge asset to this Carolina defense, which needs assets like him. He could be safety, he could be nickel, he could be slot, but his run stopping ability also jumped out to me. He has a lot of skills. I think he's good in zone, he's good in man, he's good run stopper. So, I think you could play him anywhere and he'll succeed. And this I think makes sense for Carolina and helping out their defense, especially with a guy who's versatile, which they need.
Yeah, I think that works well.
Okay.
I mean, I can't remember who did I have Barron going to again?
You had Barron going to
Was it not?
Carolina.
I was gonna say, was it not the Panthers? I'm pretty sure it's the Panthers. So
Yeah, makes
yeah,
sense. Just 4 more picks after.
yeah,
All
which
right.
is funny because I have Dallas picking Tito Oria McMillan. So same. I just don't see the trade, I guess. Uh, he's a large target. He gets open. He wins 50-50 balls, has good hands. He's sometimes lazy with how he holds the ball, and I hate that crap.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know I hate that crap where he catches it, he's got it in one hand like he's Mike Vick, and then he finally puts it away, or he's running with it out here sometimes. He's really good. A person that I think he most reminds me of is Keenan Allen,
Ooh, I like
except
that.
for the route running's maybe not as stellar,
Yeah.
right? Keenan Allen's a really good route runner. I think they have similar builds. I think they honestly I think if he reaches his potential, he's a Keenan Allen type player, which is no slouch. Keenan Allen has been one of the best receivers in the NFL for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, I do think there's a lot of potential for McMillan here. I think he has a chance to do really well with not being that first receiver.
Yeah.
And Dak Prescott, as long as he's having a good season, like this will be a good pick for Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I also had him going to Dallas, so I love the pick. So next up, I got Miami. Interesting team. Down year for them. Tua injuries. Tyreek didn't really have a great year. Jalen Waddle didn't really have a great year. Honestly, only person that felt like was having somewhat a good year for them was Johnny Smith. So interesting team. Kind of a weird team. I don't really know where they go here, but I think they end up going with Kelvin Banks tackle to try to stop Tua from getting more concussions. I'm sorry. I had to make the joke.
Oh,
Yeah, that might get me
too soon.
canceled. It's okay. No, but Kelvin Banks, like I said, I think he could be up there with any of the other two, Membo or Will Campbell. So I like Kelvin Banks here. I think it makes sense. He was also in the SEC and was good against some really good edge rushers and protected Quinn Ewers. So, yeah, I like him with Miami.
Yeah, I think it's well, yeah, I guess I'll get to Miami too. I think Miami has kind of an odd situation. Don't really know where to go. Like you said, everybody kind of had a down year, but it seems like we're just going to kind of rerun it.
Yeah.
So I think, like we said, going to offensive tackle at any time is not a bad idea. And I just kind of have to, I guess, hope that this year's going to go better.
Yeah.
So they got some good linebackers. They got some talent on their team. Um, it's just a question if it's going to all come together.
Absolutely. All right, Miami, who do you got?
Yeah. So for Miami, I'm going to say that they're going to go with cornerback Will Johnson.
I like it.
To be honest, I could see Miami going anywhere. I could see them trading out, but I don't see anyone willing to trade with them to go in. So, yeah, I think Will Johnson is actually a really good get for them. I think Will Johnson is arguably the best corner in the draft, to be honest. I think he's the best true outside corner in the draft. I think he's better than Travis Hunter, and like I said with Jade Barron, I think he'll move around. But Will Johnson's uber talented. He's big. I think he's 6'2", 200 plus.
Yeah.
But he's super athletic. He's young. He
Yep.
reads QBs well. He just didn't play a lot last year because he was injured.
Yep.
But in my opinion, it's the best tape out of all the DBs. So, to be honest, he could be a higher pick. He could be a lower pick just due to injury and maybe potential injury proneness.
Yep.
But he's young, and I think him with Jalen Ramsey on either side, like that could be a potential, potential for a really good back four for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. No, I mean it makes sense. Will Johnson, he look at how many pick sixes this guy has. Like as you said, like the tape it's there. Like it technically as a cornerback, like technicality speaking, I think he's got it all. I think the questions of durability, injury proneness, that kind of thing is hurting his draft stock, and I think that's why he falls in this draft.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think his upside is huge. So whoever gets him, if they can keep him healthy, watch out.
Yeah, I think in other drafts, if he didn't have injury, if he wasn't injured all of last season, pretty much,
Yeah, he's top 10.
like he missed like 7 weeks with turf toe and then other games as well. So I think he could be a top 5 pick. Like he's that good.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, going to Indy. I am going to go with Tyler Warren. I like Tyler Warren a lot as a tight end. I like this tight end class. There's some good sleepers in this class, and I think the top 2 prospects are really athletic. I mean, Tyler Warren had a hell of a game against Boise State. He felt like, he was everywhere. So that's how he was all season long. He was a top threat on offense. He has good blocking ability. He can do it all. I mean, he's just one of those prospects that's like, yeah, this guy's going to succeed. He's going to be next level good talent. Like he's not one of those guys that's going to take a year to develop. I think he's an instant threat on offense, both in the run game as well as in the passing game. And I think Tyler Warren has potential to be a really good tight end in this league. I mean, his route running's good. Big size, fast. I mean, what more can you ask from a tight end?
Yeah, no, I like it so much that I have Tyler Warren going to Indianapolis as well. He's just strong. To me, I'm not sure about the speed. He didn't run the 40.
Okay, let me reiterate. He's fast for a tight end who is as big as he is.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I see that. He's a strong runner. He finds holes in the defense and just kind of lays there. Not literally, but he stays in that pocket. He's sure-handed. He's very athletic, even though, like I said, I'm not sure about the top end speed. He can jump weirdly, really well.
He's a basketball player.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. He reminds me, and this will be a little interesting. He reminds me of a more athletic Jason Witten.
Okay.
I don't know if you see that, but
I see it.
To me, he reminds me of an old school tight end. Maybe even for Colts fans, like a Dallas Clark, right? Yeah. But he's a little more athletic than either of those comparisons. But he would be happy with the career of those guys because both of those guys had great careers. So I do think he's an instant impact. They have a hole at tight end. They need someone there. So, and he can help them in a lot of ways. I'm not sure he'll be as used. Like I wouldn't throw him in the passing game anymore. I know he did at Penn State, throw the ball a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That's coming to an end. you have enough throwing troubles with Anthony Richardson, so
I'll probably throw better than Anthony Richardson. So
stop.
No, I mean, yeah, I had the same pick, so I love it. All right, Atlanta, another interesting team. Their defense was kind of trash last year, to put it lightly, I guess. But I don't think they're gonna go Mykel Williams or Mike Green. And I know this board has him a lot lower. But I think they're going to go with a guy like James Pierce. He's a freak of an athlete. He's quick off the jump. I love his tape. I think it speaks for itself. And his measurables, I know measurables aren't everything, but his measurables are there too. And I think Atlanta needs a guy like this who has a lot of upside, and I think this guy has a lot of potential to transition well. I don't know. You look at him, and he's this long, lengthy guy. He can get the hands on you quick. He's got this almost weird way of slithering past defenders, but he also has this power that's kind of sneaky that I think is underrated, and I think he'll fit in well with Atlanta. I can't remember if Atlanta still has used to be on the Patriots. I can't remember his name. Oh God, what was his name? Pass rusher for Patriots. They traded for him. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Anyways,
They do
I
not
think
have him anymore.
they don't. Okay.
Their
Well, I was
pass
gonna say
rushers are going to be Leonard Floyd, and really that's it.
okay. Yeah. So they need a pass rusher. So yeah, I'm going James Pierce. I know he's not as high rated in this draft simulator, but I like him a lot. I like his upside a lot. So
yeah, I like that pick. I'm going to go with a different edge rusher though, and I'm going to go with Michael Williams.
Yep. Good pick.
Tremendous length. Like he looks even longer than he actually is. I feel like to me, it looks like he's 6'7" out there. He uses it to get off blocks and to tackle the QB or cause fumbles like he did against Texas. He seems to have decent speed, but had an ankle injury in 2024. So I think maybe that hampered him a little bit. In my opinion, at times he looks better than his companion, Jalen Walker. So I think that this is a good pick for them. Like we went over, they really only have Leonard Floyd to go rush the quarterback. So they need people.
I like it. I also like Michael Williams. I don't know. Maybe you disagree, but in ways, James Pierce and Michael Williams remind me of each other in terms of length.
Yeah, I thought James Pierce was he looks longer than Jalen Walker. To me, it looks like Jalen Walker did not seem necessarily long to me, but to me, they are similar players. Him and Michael.
Yep. Okay. Going to Arizona, another team where it's like, where the hell do they go? Right? Like, I feel like we've been saying that a lot this podcast. But I think they're gonna go with Johnson. At this point, pick 16. Like, I feel like it's a no-brainer for them. They need help in their secondary. They need help in their defense. Will Johnson makes sense here. I just talked about how much I liked him as a prospect in his tape, and it would be a steal for them to get Will Johnson at pick 16, even with his injury history. Like you said, any other draft, if he doesn't have the injury history, he's probably going top 5. So it's a steal for them, and I think Arizona gets another cornerback legend with Will Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I think Will Johnson is really good. Like I talked about, I think he could be a top 5 pick if it wasn't for injuries. So this is a really good pick for the Cardinals at 16.
All right, who you got for the Cardinals?
All right, for the Cardinals, I'm going to go with linebacker Jihad Campbell.
Nice.
Honestly, Alabama linebackers are notoriously good. I also notoriously like them. So
they just translate well.
Yeah. And to be honest, like you're playing the SEC, you have to diagnose plays. And he did a really good job at that. He ran a 4.52 at the combine. He plays downhill. He's just a solid linebacker. He's not undersized. And I really think the Cardinals need help on defense. So I think Campbell's a good pick here.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot for them too. All right, for Cincinnati, this is where I think Michael Williams goes. Similar to what you said with the length, he just looks ginormous on the field. It's kind of scary how ginormous he looks, but I mean he's he's just one of those guys that, again, continuously can get to the quarterback in a variety of different ways. And it's just one of those guys where you watch the tape and you're like, that's the stuff that's going to translate into the NFL. That's the stuff that you're looking for in an edge rusher. And he checks all the boxes for me. And I think for Cincinnati, a team that struggled very badly on defense, they need another guy like this. I know they have Trey Hendrickson, but they need somebody to the opposite of him or to replace him if he does get traded. So,
yeah, I think this is a good pick for Cincinnati. Obviously, I believe they lost an edge rusher as well.
yeah.
I can't remember what his name was, but I think he retired. Something. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think this is a good replacement.
Who you got for Cincinnati?
For Cincinnati, I gotta go back up. I guess I'll go Shamar Stewart. Similar reason. I don't necessarily love Shamar Stewart. Like,
Interesting.
here's the problem with Shamar Stewart. His productivity in college was not great.
Yeah.
He was very he was disruptive, and I think he's got a lot of potential. But I think, honestly, sometimes it's difficult for me to get behind people that didn't have a lot of production. And sometimes Texas A&M players are known for being overhyped, to me. So I don't love it, but that's where I'm going to go. I think they do need someone opposite Trey Hendrickson. And to me, he's off the board already. Michael Williams and more of the edge rushers that I'm fans of. So
I hear you. Okay. Interesting. Not a fan of Shamar Stewart. Noted. All right.
You gonna bring that up?
Going back to me, Seattle. They had a whole lot of shakeup, as you know, as a Seahawks fan. Sam Darnold now at the helm, which I know you just absolutely love. Cooper Kupp, JSN, still got Kenneth Walker. Need some O-line help still. Maybe a little bit of defense, nothing too crazy, but I think O-line is where they go here, and I think they're going to go out and get a guy like, where is he? Might be listed as a guard because they don't know. Yeah, Greg Zabel. I think they go get Greg Zabel. I know he played tackle at North Dakota State. He's tough. He's gritty. There's concerns. I mean, he played FCS football, right? So people are always, what was his competition like? But thing I'll say about that is usually when a prospect in the FCS is getting this type of attention, it's well-deserved. And it's, you watch Greg Zabel's tape and he dominated at that level. And I think his versatility to be able to play guard, to be able to play tackle is going to be appealing to Seattle because they need help in both places. And like I said, I like this guy's toughness. I like his technicality. And what I was trying to get at earlier with the FCS, look at last year. I know a different position, but Quinyon Mitchell, right? Went to freaking Toledo. Went I think early second round and was unbelievable last season. So don't knock on the small schools. There are still good prospects out of small schools, and I think Greg Zabel has the potential to be one of those guys as well.
Yeah, I think actually that's like a very good pick for Seattle. I think they could get him a lot later though than that. So yeah, I think it's a good pick for Seattle though.
All right, who you got for Seattle?
For Seattle, I'm going to go with Colston Loveland. I'll stick with the tight end.
Right.
I think honestly they need a tight end. Was he there? Yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah, Colston Loveland, I think, is a good tight end. He runs really well, especially for a tight end. He gets open, makes catches. He's a nice, very tall target. I see him more as a receiving threat than a blocking threat.
Definitely.
And honestly, I think that they have Noah Fant. Obviously, they have AJ Barner, who played for Michigan and was teammates with Loveland. just last year. So I think that they could combo again, just like they did at Michigan. I do think Seattle could use an interior offensive lineman. So I could see them trading down here as well. But I just don't. I think you can get. I think they might trade up for an interior offensive lineman like Gray Zabel later, like
Yeah.
early second round. So yeah, I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna say they go Loveland.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I love Loveland, right? Like he's from Idaho. I gotta love him. Like small town in Idaho too. Played like 3A football. He's from Gooding, Idaho, which I know for a fact you've never heard of. And if you have heard of it, it's probably because of Colson Loveland. So, super small school, went to a big school, huge prospect, and succeeded. So I love his story. And he did well at Michigan, like you said. He's a great athletic threat in the passing game, and I think he would be good for Seattle to have a threat like that. So we'll see if he translates to the next level.
Yeah, I think he will. I
Sorry.
mean, he runs so well at tight end. So
Yeah.
I think the game is moving more towards that.
Definitely. Okay.
Has
For
Sheduer
Tampa,
your list yet?
no, he hasn't. It's a great call out, Doug. He dropped big time. But like, think about like all these teams, bro.
No,
Like,
I hear what you're saying.
Which of these teams like need a QB
Need a
this
quarterback.
late,
Yeah.
Okay, so Tampa, I think they go defense here and go out and get Mike Green, who's kind of like, I don't want to say the last like edge rusher that like I would pick in the first round, but like he's definitely one of the last ones that I think is first round worthy. Another small school guy. I know I picked small school guys back to back, but Mike Green tape speaks for itself. I'll say that. I think there's definitely some improvements he has. Some of those improvements include, like his bulk, like his length, I guess you could say. And then I would also say, like, at times he kind of struggles to disengage from tackles, which could be an issue in the NFL. And his other weakness, and I don't know how much they'll need of this from him, but like we didn't see a lot of him in pass coverage, but it is nice to have for a team to have that kind of experience. But on the strength side, like, I mean, he's explosive. He's got a lot of different moves. He's got a great spin move that I love watching him do. He has, he can be violent with his hands. And he's one of those guys that just keeps on going play after play. He's got this motor to him, a workhorse motor to him that just continues to come at quarterbacks. And, he's a wrestler back in the day. So, I got to love him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's a good idea for the Tampa Bay to go get an edge. They seem to have all the rest of the defense of lineup filled except for the edge. So I have them going for a different edge though.
Okay. Who you got?
James Pierce Jr.
Okay.
It's lasted a little too long. Actually, I do think James Pierce Jr. is better than Shamar Stewart. He's quick and fast.
So we agree there.
Yeah, he's very quick and fast. To me, those are the biggest things you notice on tape with James Pierce Jr. is just like I want to make sure too he's still on the board, right?
Yeah. I just picked him.
Yeah. So I mean he just gets off the ball so quickly that offensive linemen have trouble getting hands on him. And if with stunts, like he'll come from the outside up the middle and boom, he's right on the quarterback immediately. I think that's honestly where he's best is when he gets a stunt from an interior defensive tackle, he wraps around and lights up the quarterback.
Yeah, I picked the Boston College edge rusher instead, so I don't know what's going on, but just know he's off the board, James Pierce.
No worries.
So Denver, interesting team. Where do they go here? They could go running back. They could go tight end. I think both are, or no, they don't need tight end. I don't know why they need tight end anymore. They got Evan Ingram. So this isn't updated. I could see them going receiver because, they need more weapons, and I think that's where they're going to go. I'm going to go Matthew Golden from Texas. Extremely fast, better hands than given credit for, in my opinion. And he is one of those players that's extremely good in open space. And I think him alongside a guy like Marvin Mims could be dangerous because that's a lot of speed, and you already have your big guy with
Sutton.
But yeah, I mean, I think those two could be dangerous with each other alongside Cortland Sutton. So I like it there. And Golden's tape has impressed me a lot. I think you could go Golden, you could go Burden. I like Golden more than Burden, but yeah, I guess we're going speed round now, so no more feedback from you. All right, your pick.
Yeah, this is an interesting team because I don't necessarily know where they should go, to be honest with you. They need help in a couple specific areas, but it is a couple, and I don't think this draft necessarily has those areas that they need filled.
Yeah.
Except for I'm going to have them picking who I have best available, which is Omarion Hampton.
Omarion Hampton. Yep.
Yeah. Running back, North Carolina.
Yep.
Good acceleration, downhill runner. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. I mean, just looks like a load to bring down.
Yeah.
Right. One issue I could see is that his change of direction. He ran a 4.4.
He's a north south runner.
A 4.4 for your 20-yard dash is pretty slow. So he's very much a north-south guy. But like I said, he's big, he's strong. If the O-line of Denver can open up holes for him, like he will get you yards. So
definitely.
I think this is a good pick for them, to be honest with you. I think this would really fit well in Sean Payton's offense. Yeah. So I think he's decent catching the ball as well, obviously, which is a necessary thing in Sean Payton's offense. So
yeah, I like it. I almost picked him. All right, Pittsburgh. Sheduer Sanders. If they don't pick Sheduer, I think they pick Jackson Dart. They don't have a QB. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going there or not. So as of today, QB is a need. And I think, obviously this might be a little overzealous saying Sheduer drops all the way to pick 21. People might look at me fucking sideways. It's fine. But see them going Sheduer at 21 or Jackson Dart. And like I said earlier, he reminds me of Brock Purdy in ways. My biggest knock on this guy, and I think something that's not being talked about enough, I know he played at Colorado, but as we said, he had a lot of wide receiver weapons. And so for me, him leading the FBS in sacks in both 2023 and 2024 in back-to-back years should be a red flag to teams. He has to get rid of the ball quicker. It's just a fact. I mean, he, as mobile as he is, there should be no excuse for him to be sacked that much. And, we can talk about O-line all day. That's an O-line issue. But I don't know. There's plenty of QBs that probably had way worse O-lines than Sheduer Sanders did and didn't give up as many sacks. So that's my biggest red flag with him. But you want to say something, say it.
I don't see the Steelers picking Sheduer Sanders or A Sanders for that matter.
Okay.
I think that's too much personality on one team.
Okay. But DK wasn't.
DK is pushing the limit.
What about George Pickens?
That's what I'm saying. When you got DK, George Pickens, that's pushing the limit of personality for one team. You can't throw Sheduer in the mix there. Like Tomlin can only control so much. Okay.
Okay. I hear you.
They do need a quarterback, so I it's really the last place for Sheduer to go in the first round.
Yeah. All right. Who you got?
Honestly, he could do well there with who
He would do well there, which I
Yeah.
like the situation for him there a lot.
Yeah, it is a good situation. The Steelers need receivers. Is that
Dude, this is not updated. Like I just said, Denver doesn't need a tight end. They just got Evan Ingram. So, anyways, go ahead for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I do think that they need a quarterback because Mason Rudolph is not the. I think Mason Rudolph could actually start first few games, and he's not terrible. So I think you already know where I'm going. Yeah, Jackson Dart's gonna get picked, and I actually really like this for Dart because he's got some big, tall receivers here with DK and George Pickens. Calvin Austin's not bad. Pat Fryermuth's not bad. I think they could use another interior lineman, and that defense is always going to be good. So, I would debate going interior line here, but I do think Jackson Dart is a good pick for the Steelers, and I think he'll be successful there. He's very mobile, underrated mobilely. You're absolutely correct on that. To be honest, one other thing. He was the most accurate in the draft class.
Yeah.
Out of all the quarterbacks in the draft class, I think he's by far the most accurate passer. And he's a tough runner. So
Yeah.
I do like him.
Sorry, last thing about Jackson Dart, because I like talking about him. I also think he's one of those guys, when you watch his tape, he can make throws that a lot of quarterbacks can't. And he has this touch to him that a lot of quarterbacks don't. So that's all. That's the last thing I'll say about him. Okay.
I mean, one thing I will say is like we talked about, even though I have two quarterbacks going the first two, and I have all the way to pick 21, there's not a lot of difference for me between the three quarterbacks in where I would value their talent.
Yeah.
I probably have Sheduer's below all of them. Like, in my opinion, Cam Ward's probably the most talented. Jackson Dart is probably second. And Dart's the most accurate, so he throws darts. Pun intended.
I love it. LA Chargers, John Harbaugh. He's gonna go get his guy, Colston Loveland. I know they need D-line. I could also see them going Kenneth Grant, but Chargers, I don't know, makes sense. Last year, there was a lot of talk about them going and getting Brock Bowers, which would have been absolutely crazy now that we see what Brock Bowers did last season. But Colston Loveland goes and gets his tight end that he needs and gets a guy that he knows and trusts with Colston Loveland. And echoing what you said, he's a great pass option for Justin Herbert. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, I like that pick, Loveland, from you. Obviously, I think we both had Brock Bowers going to the Chargers last season, and it would have been great had that happened. But lo and behold, it didn't. So we must move on. And I think I'm going to go with the D line. I'm going to go with Derek Harmon, Oregon defensive tackle.
There we go. I picked him. I don't know if it's showing up. It's okay. Just go with it.
He's quick and strong. And, honestly, I would say out of the defensive tackles, I think I'm a little surprised by how highly rated Kenneth Grant is. I think Mason Graham's obviously the best, but then I would have Derek Harmon right after. 6'5", 313, big body. Obviously, Kenneth Grant's an even bigger body, but yeah, I think Kenneth Grant was helped a little bit out by the fact that you had Mason Graham there too. So I'm gonna go with Derek Harmon at Oregon. I think he was very disruptive in the Big Ten last season.
I like it. All right. For Green Bay, this is where I have Jihad Campbell going. I think it's a great fit for both Jihad Campbell as well as Green Bay. Linebacker's a need for them. And as you mentioned, he reads the quarterback really well. And I think he could be a long-term leader for the Packers. I picked him. I don't know why it's not updating, but okay, who do you have for Green Bay?
Yeah, for Green Bay, I'm gonna go with South Carolina safety Nick Eamon-Worry.
Oh, nice.
He's a big he's a big safety. He's 6'3", 220. I think he could help them in the run game as well. But he ran a sub 4.4 40, so he's super athletic. I think that's going to help him move up. Well, maybe it's not that big of a move up boards, but I think people are going to like that, and he's not going to drop for that reason. So yeah, that's my pick for Green Bay.
I like it. Yeah, I guess. All right, for the Vikings, I actually have Malachi Starks going before Eamon-Worry. Maybe not as big, but I think he has a good feel for the game. He was a leader for Georgia, and another one of those guys that I think makes sense for Minnesota. I could see them going either or, whether it's more the size factor with Eamon-Worry or Starks, who's maybe more of that leader, maybe more of that guy who can, I don't know, do a little bit of everything on the field. Yeah, I'm going Starks for the Vikings. Who do you have for the Vikings?
For the Vikings, I think they're gonna end up moving some people around. They're gonna like who is still on the board for me, and it's because he's so fast. He ran a 4.28 40. So I think they're gonna move around some people to play safety. I think they're going to go with what's his name, Harrison, the corner out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maxwell Harrison.
Yep.
He ran a 4.28. I think that's going to pop off, like make him unique when it comes to corners. I don't necessarily think that he is necessarily the best press corner.
No.
But I do think that he was able to make up with it with his speed and the fact that he's so fast. And he'll end up making up for it. And yeah, I think this is a good pick for Minnesota. Honestly, I don't know. Like in my opinion, I think they need more help at corner too. But
yeah. All right, for Houston, interesting team. They lost a lot of people at receiver with Stephon Diggs. I don't think they've I guess they didn't lose a lot of people, but Tank Dell's also coming off of injury. They could go the O tackle route with Larry Tunsil gone, which thank God we don't have to watch him get 1,000 holding calls this year. But I think they're going to go with Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Do I think he is one of the top offensive tackles? I don't necessarily believe so. I think there's potential there, though. I think, refining technique. I think he's not going to be one of those guys immediately that is helping out Houston, but don't be surprised in 2 or 3 years from now if you see Josh Simmons performing at a high level for the Texans. That's kind of how I see his path with the Texans.
Yeah, I'm gonna go similarly with a tackle for the Texans. I'm gonna go with Josh Connerly Jr. from
I
Oregon.
like this guy. I love this guy.
He had a super quick 10 yards, first 10 yards at the combine, is the fastest out of all linemen. And if anything, like it shows up on tape. I think Oregon, for some reason, has some, in my opinion, they have some players that were underrated. And I think that they're better than they actually are on draft boards. So I think this is a good pick for them. I think he's better than Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, personally.
I agree. I actually have Connerly above Simmons, especially because of Connerly's pull ability. I think he can do so much in the run game as well as the passing game. So I like Connerly more. But something about D'Amico Ryans, I don't know. I feel like he'll go with Simmons. So all right, almost through it. All right, LA Rams. Interesting team here. Another team where I'm like, where do they go? Do they go corner? Do they go linebacker, tight end? Do they try to get more receivers? I don't think they need more receivers after going and getting Devontae Adams, but maybe they need a third option. I don't know. They build up their line. Do they go get edge rushers? It's all very, I don't know. This team seems very weird to me, and I honestly wouldn't be like shocked if they just traded out of the first round. I could see them doing that and just getting more second round guys. But for this one, I will go with Hairston for similar reasons that you pick Hairston. Just his speed is unmatched, and I think he has a lot of work to do in terms of developing as a corner, but his upside as an athlete will translate into the NFL, and he can definitely develop into a good defensive back for the Rams. Rams for you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting where the Rams should go. But I think for me, it's pretty obvious. And they're going to go with Matthew Golden. Sean McVay is going to like speed at receiver. This is the fastest receiver in the draft, correct?
Yep.
I believe so. But he ran a 4.2 something. It was sub 4.3. It was in the 4.2s. Super fast. I think he'll do okay. Like, honestly, they have receivers. They have Puka Nacua. They have Devontae Adams. They have Tutu Atwell as well. I imagine him being kind of a deep threat used around, but honestly, there's not a whole lot of places for the Rams to go. And I think more receivers are going to be chosen than just one in the first round. So,
yeah, definitely. All right, for the Ravens. Another interesting team. I feel like I'm a broken record. Where they go here? They could use some defensive help. I could see them pairing.
talking about Kyle Hamilton.
Yes, thank you. And I think that's where they're going to go. Emin Wari, physical. Hamilton. It'd be a good pair, in my opinion. So I think that's where they're going to go. Yeah. Who do you got for the Ravens?
I have Brooks, the offensive guard from Alabama. Yeah, or sorry, not Brooks, Booker.
Booker. Got
Booker. Booker, he's very well sized, 6'5", 321, played in the SEC. He plays through the whistle. And he's very powerful. There is some knocks against him about being able to stay in front of defenders and like change directions. So I think that's a potential issue, but I think this is probably one of the best places that they can go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They also don't have very many interior linemen on their roster at the moment. Like,
No.
They have like 9 linemen.
Yep.
So they need some.
Good call. Good call. Okay, for the Lions, a lot of injuries last year on defense, so I think people are kind of forgetting. But I think Kenneth Grant makes sense here for Detroit. I know. Oh, I wish I could change my pick. Oh, well. I actually think I could see them going with Walter Nolan. I like Walter Nolan better than Kenneth Grant. Physical, he kind of reminds me of that kid from Texas last year.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there was Sweat, and then there's Tavondre Sweat, and
the other one.
The other one.
Yeah,
but I did like the other one too.
But that guy who I know you know who I'm talking about. They remind me a lot of each other when watching their tape. Just kind of similar. I mean, he just bullies people. He's this big guy, and I think he could succeed really well with the Lions and helping strengthen up that Detroit defensive line. All right, who do you got for the Lions?
Honestly, I'm going to say that the Lions are going to trade out.
Yeah.
Because, like, they did have a lot of injuries last season, like you talked about already. And I think the Atlanta Falcons are probably going to trade in.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, for the time being, let's just act like you traded out and the Falcons now have the pick.
Yeah, and I think the Falcons are going to
Williams earlier in the draft.
Yeah. So I think they're going to double down, get another edge rusher. It's the last edge rusher that really deserves to go in the first round. Mike Green from Marshall.
Yep.
He led college last season with 17 sacks. He's a little I don't want to say he's a little undersized, but he might be slightly. Obviously, coming from Marshall, people will have knocks about him anyway. But I do think him paired up with Michael Williams gives them, like, for sure one of those will fit and work. So also Leonard Floyd's not necessarily young, if I remember right.
Correct.
So I think this helps in the long term. Yeah, Leonard Floyd's 32. So I think they're going to double down. Detroit doesn't need anybody. So they're going to trade out.
Okay. All right. For the Commanders, just flip-flop. So I know I accidentally pressed Kenneth Grant, but I'd actually have Kenneth Grant going to the Washington Commanders. The reason being they lost some guys on their D-line. So it's a need for them. And I think Kenneth Grant fits that need. I could also see them going Harmon. I know you like Harmon. I also like Harmon. But Kenneth Grant, he was a good sidekick to Graham and could see potential there. So I think they go D-line here. Who you got for the Commanders?
For the Commanders, I'm going to go ahead and pick another receiver. And this time it's going to be Jaden Higgins. Another very big receiver. It makes him always open. He wins a lot of 50-50 balls. I feel like we've talked about like receivers like him before. I'm a little worried that maybe he turns into a similar Iowa State receiver I'm pretty sure it was Iowa State. It was Arizona State. One of those red teams that was a state team, N'Keal Harry. I could see him turning into that. So a little worried about that, but I think Tyler Higgins to the Commanders. Or Jaden Higgins. My goodness.
Yep. I knew what you meant. All right, well, mine's not pulling up, but the next team is Buffalo. I believe they're going to go wide receiver. And I think they are going to go with Luther Burden. Keon Coleman kind of plays that bigger receiver role for them right now. Amari Cooper is gone, so I could see him stepping up in a bigger role. They also have Khalil Shakir still. I think receivers still a need for them, and so I think Luther Burden is a good pick for them. I could also see them going Egbuka, but I think they're going to go more for speed, which I think Burden fits that role for them.
Yeah, I like the pick with going a receiver because I'm going to go receiver as well, but I'm going to go the other receiver that you said, Emeka Egbuka.
He's just another.
Sense. What?
I said that makes sense. Like I like that.
To me, he's just another of a long-standing history of Ohio State receivers that are good. He excels at getting open. Again, like you said, he's not necessarily eye-popping in anywhere, but dude is always open, and he has good hands. He's a solid receiver. And so I think that's where Buffalo will go.
I like it. Come on. Next team is the Chiefs. I feel like we're year after year we're saying they need a receiver, and they definitely could use another one. They did lose Tooney though, and I think they're going to be looking to try to replace him, and that's why I think they're going to go with Josh Connerly here. They could use him at the tackle position. They could use him at the guard position, but I like Connerly a lot. I think, like you said, he's fast, which is rare for a lineman, and he's versatile, and I think he'll fit well with Kansas City. All right, who you got for Kansas City?
For Kansas City, I have them going with an O-lineman as well, but I'm going to go with Josh Simmons now. Really, he's the last offensive tackle that you take on the board. So in the first round, and that's pretty much why. He spent time at San Diego State before Ohio State, so he has good experience at least. He's a little bit lighter than I thought he was at only 317, but he blocked well for Ohio State. I think honestly he could do better, and I don't know if I'd call this a bust because we're on pick 31, but I don't think it's going to end up going as well as it should be for a first-round pick.
Okay, I hear you. And Kansas City has had struggles with draft picks. So, not draft picks, but offensive linemen in particular. So,
yeah.
All right, Philadelphia. They lost some guys, especially on defense, and I think they're going to be looking to replenish that, especially with the edge rushers. And that's where I see a guy like I don't even know how to say his last name, but the Boston College guy. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So that's who I'm going to go with. I think they're going to, like I said, just replenish that edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean, they have so many. I still think even though they may have lost some guys, they have so many players. Honestly, they don't even need really any of these guys that I'm debating. But I will say that there's one guy who I think should go off the board in the first round, that hasn't yet, and that's going to be another dude from Ohio State, Trayvon Henderson.
Ooh.
And so I think that Philly not necessarily is going to be like, well, and I know they got Shipley last year. I think they got Shipley last year, but
They did.
yeah. So they got Shipley last year. They have Saquon Barkley, but I think Trayvon Henderson is a step above Shipley. I think also when you're looking at potential replacements for Saquon Barkley in the future, Trayvon Henderson would be a good guy to learn under Saquon and just kind of develop in the NFL.
Yeah.
He averaged 7 yards a carry in college. He's extremely talented, extremely athletic. So.
He is. And he has good receiving ability as well. So, all right, Doug, we did it. Computer troubles and all, so appreciate it. Mock draft, second annual, 2 hours and 12 minutes long. Definitely be cutting this down, but yeah, I appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Hunter. Have a good night.
Man. As always, folks, stay logical and run that nonsense.